Hello, everyone. I'm a little bit early. I just wanted to set up my desk with our project first. We're going to be painting this guy today. So if you haven't gotten your supplies ready, go ahead and take this time to get your supplies. What you're going to need are tempera paints. And you only need the primary colors because we're going to be doing color mixing as well today. So you're going to need blue and red and yellow. If you don't have tempera paints and you just have watercolors, you can use watercolors. Or if you just have markers, you can use those too. But I am going to demonstrate with blue, red, and yellow tempera paints. And you're also going to need white and black because this is going to be a lesson on tints and shades and tones as well. So we're going to learn a lot of stuff today. So go ahead and take this time to get your paints. Red, blue, yellow, so your primary colors. We're going to be mixing them to our secondary colors, so purple, orange, and green. And you're also going to need black and white. So whether you're going to use tempera paints like me, or whether you are going to be using watercolors, you can use those, or markers, or even crayons. So this lesson is really just about complementary colors, which you can get with any tool that you have, any coloring tool that you have, as well as we're going to learn about the artist who inspired our blue dog painting. So I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of time. There's a message from Julie. Oh, you are tagging. Yes. Yeah. So these lessons are all for free. We live stream them Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. And live streaming means you can just watch at 1 while I do the project. And while you're watching, if you wanted to just say hi or if you had a question, you can ask or comment, and I will try and answer you live. Usually when I turn the screen down, it's kind of hard to see. But I really do love saying hi to anyone who is watching live. So that would be great. But we do keep all of the videos on our Facebook page. So if you start late, you can just watch it later. Or if you're watching it later and I'm going a little bit too fast, that's also a great option where you can just pause the video until you catch up or rewatch a part that is a little confusing. So live streaming is great because you can say hi, like, hi, Carrie, hi, Emma. So like it's nice to say hi and watch it live, but it's also really great and convenient to watch it later, either on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. So I'm going to get started. So our lesson today, we're going to be doing the blue dog, which is inspired by George Rodrigue. And so he is an artist, an American artist that was born and raised in Southwest Louisiana. So he was actually born in 1944 and he's already passed away. He passed away in 2013. But he preserved on his canvas what he feared was his dying heritage. So he really wanted to preserve the history, the land and the people, the traditions, and the mythology of his Cajun heritage since he was born in Southwest Louisiana. And actually, these paintings, the blue dog paintings, he did a lot of them, and there were all sorts of different varieties. There were the dogs with costumes on. This one is based on one where the dog is wearing a tie. So he did a lot of these paintings, but they're actually based on a Cajun legend of the loup-garou. And that is actually a mythological creature in French, Canadian, and American folklores. And it's basically the same thing as a rougarou. And if you guys, if you watch Supernatural, which I watch. But anyway, a rougarou is a werewolf. So he combined this story with his own pet, and his pet's name was Tiffany. So he painted this dog with the basis of the werewolf, which is from his Cajun heritage. But also he looked at his own dog, Tiffany, as a reference. So as an artist, George Rodrigue began by painting outdoor scenes at family gatherings. He used an oak tree as his main subject in hundreds of his paintings. So he liked to use the same subject over and over for all of his paintings. And in doing so, he kind of became an expert on how to portray them, and they kind of evolved as he was painting them. Later, he started painting abstract paintings of Louisiana legends and the history of his people. So, as we're painting this dog, I wanted to ask you guys a couple of questions. Obviously, this dog is blue. Hey, Annalisa. And I wanted to see if you guys thought whether Tiffany, his dog, was actually blue. I have a feeling that his dog probably was not blue, but he is painting from a real subject, but he's adding a little bit more of his style, and he's stylizing it, and he's making the painting his own. So before we get into this, I kind of wanted to talk about the 7 major art styles, because this is not a real dog. Unless you've seen blue dogs around. Blue dogs don't really exist. So while it's based off of a real thing, George Rodrigue is painting in the style of Expressionism. So Expressionism is a painting style that's characterized by a use of bold and unrealistic colors chosen not to depict life as it is, but rather as it feels or as it appears to the artist. So some styles, there are 7 major art styles, and one of them is realism. So looks much like a real thing rather than being stylized using space, depth, composition, color, and lighting. Obviously, the blue dog is not a real dog, so it's not realism because it's not painting exactly something that is in real life. Painterly, so subjects were rendered realistically, but painters made no effort to hide their technical work. So if you look at the painting, you can actually see their brushstrokes. And if you look at my painting right here, you can actually see the brushstrokes. And that's not a mistake. That is part of the style of painterly paintings. Impressionism, so a painting that's used to capture light, not through the detail of realism, but with gesture and illusion. So if you are familiar with like Monet, and you can see his brushstrokes, you can see the light through the brushstrokes that he uses. As I said, Expressionism, so using expressive colors to maybe take something that is real and add a different element to it. And then moving into abstraction. So abstraction is a kind of painting where the essence of the subject is as the artist interprets it, rather than the visible details. So it may be reduced to color, it might be reduced to shapes or patterns, all the way to abstract expressionism, where it's not even the subject that is the most important part. The point of the painting is the colors used, the textures, and maybe even the materials employed. So we are going to be doing our blue dog based on George Rodrigue's painting. We are going to be painting in a expressionistic style based on a real subject, but we're going to be adding our own kind of take on it. And we're also going to be learning a little bit about complementary colors, as well as color mixing and tint and shade. So let's turn this screen down so you guys can see my workspace. And if you guys entered a little late, my name's Miss Elaine. I don't think I even said it, but I'm Miss Elaine. I'm from the Firehouse Art Center. The Firehouse Art Center is currently closed, but we're offering these classes for free for our kids in our community because we really love bringing art and culture. And if we have to just bring it right into your homes, we will. That's what we're going to do. So I'm going to turn the screen down. And that is my workspace. So I have to kind of do things upside down, but that's okay. So this is our color wheel. So if you're learning about the color wheel, you know that the primary colors are yellow, blue, and red. We're going to be mixing our secondary colors, which are green, which you get by mixing blue and yellow. So these are the two right next to it. You use the colors right next to it on the color wheel to make it. We're going to make orange. And if you can see, yellow and red are right next to it. So you mix yellow and red together to get orange. And then there's violet or purple. And maybe Violet is watching at some point because she has been painting with us as well. So hi, Violet, if you're here. So violet or purple. And as you can see, blue and red are right next to that. And you get violet by mixing blue and red. So these are our primary colors, blue, yellow, and red. And our secondary colors, orange, green, and violet or purple. So I'm going to move this to the side. And I'm going to show you guys this. And if you were here on Monday, I have a stack of my little kitties and my doggies that we drew for our Monday class. I saw some of the art submissions. They were amazing. So thank you for sending those in. I really super enjoyed them. Okay. You'll need your pencil because we are going to draw first our dog and then we're going to paint. So I'm going to reach into my kids' pencil box that I got from him. And you don't have to use a black pencil or an HB pencil. I'm just going to use this colored pencil. We're going to paint over it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And we're going to try and not, well, it doesn't really matter. The pressure of your pencil doesn't really matter for this one because sometimes I say, oh, well, don't draw too heavy because you might erase. But with this one, since we're going to paint over it, it doesn't really matter. And if you want, we can even add a black marker outline, but you might want to do that after you paint because depending on the kind of marker you use, it might run into the paint that you are using. And we don't want that to happen. We want our colors to stay vibrant and expressive. Okay, so we are going to get started with our drawing. And I want you guys to look at your paper and I want you to imagine it's separated into 4 quarters or quadrants. So just kind of imagine, I'm going to draw a line on mine, but you don't have to. So I just want you to picture a line separating it in half vertically. So if you look, can you even see that? I drew it really lightly. And then a line separating it horizontally, just like that. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. Yeah, so, you know, you might not be able to see it, but I want you guys to visualize on your own paper. I've got 1 here, 1 here, 1 down here, 1 down here. Okay. We are going to make the dog's head very lightly in pencil. We're going to do a circle. So yeah, I just told you that not to draw, that it's okay if you draw hard, but keep these first strokes light because these are just your guidelines. So can you guys see that circle right there? Okay, so that is my dog's head. So if you look right here, I've just drawn the shape for his head, just as a guideline. Now, I'm going to come back to this part right here, which should be splitting his head in half. So I'm going to get closer so you guys can see. So here is my top quarter, and here's my other one. So my left quadrant and my right quadrant, and it's separating the 2 sides of his head. So I'm going to come to almost the top of his head right here, and I'm going to do a zigzag line. So if you ever done angry eyes, it's kind of like the angry eyebrows, but it's this part right here for his snout. Okay. Then I'm going to draw a line almost going to the center of the page, but it's going to come in like that as a diagonal. And I'm drawing these lines a little bit darker so you guys can see. And these lines aren't going to be erased, so you can draw these a little bit heavier as well. And that's this part of his nose, okay? If you want to do a little wrinkle, a little bump here, you can. And then you're going to come out. Now, I want you guys to watch first because we're actually going to go below his head. So watch first. It's going to come all the way down to where that halfway mark is, okay? And I'm going to come up. And it's going to look like that. You guys see that? So I'm going to move it up closer. So this is my halfway mark that I did to separate the page horizontally. And his nose goes all the way down to that line. And it comes up. We have a little wiggle. And then the angry zigzag at the top. Okay? Now we have his whole snout. We're going to come right here where the bottom of his circle is, and I'm going to draw his nose just like this. Okay? So it's an oval nose. If you look at my guidelines, this is the circle I first drew. The nose is underneath that circle, in between the bottom of that circle and the bottom of his mouth. Okay? Now, if you want, you can add his mouth as a little frowny line right there. Awesome. And you can continue it as his chin right there. It's not right there. So we have now completed his head, his snout. We did his nose and his little mouth right here. Okay? Awesome. Now we get to do his eyes. Now, it might be a little hard to see on my painting, but his eyes are basically just circles. So they go right here, one circle on this side, and one circle on this side. And George Rodrigue's doggies have pupils that are right in the center of that circle. And it ends up looking like that. Got it? Okay. Now from drawing our doggy sketches, we are going to be doing his ears next. And his ears are going to be triangles with a triangle in the center. Just like that. And we're going to add little fluffy parts to it at the end. Okay? Now we're going to draw his cheeks. So watch the line I make. And down from the ear. Okay? Awesome. So now we have the dog's head. If you want to make any of those lines darker or add any furry zigzags, you can. So you'll see I'm adding some furry zigzags to my ears just to give him a little bit more personality. Okay? Now we have completed the face of our dog. If you want, you can give him his eyebrows. Just like that. And Rodrigue's dog has these little cheeks that are underneath as well. Okay? And I am going to let you guys catch up. So I'm going to bring this a little closer so you guys can see. The first thing that we did our, you visualize separating the page into quadrants, into 4 parts. Then we made our circle on the top 2 quadrants, right in the middle of the page. So one eye is going to be on one side of the line and one eye is going to be on the other for bilateral symmetry. So we did the circle first. Then we made his snout area. Going all the way down to the midline. We drew his nose underneath the circle, and we gave him a mouth. Then we put eyes, made his ears, and gave him eyebrows, cheeks, and added some zigzaggy furries. Okay? Awesome. Now we are ready to do the rest of his body. So the rest of his body, we're going to do a mirrored image from one side to the other. So whatever you do on one side, you're going to end up doing on the other side. So watch me as I draw the first side, and then you can draw the second side along with me, okay? So I'm going to come straight down from his, I was wondering if we should draw his tie first. No, we won't draw his tie. Okay, I'm going to come straight down from his cheeks, okay? So watch this. I'm going to come down, curve out for his legs, and give him his little feet. Then I'm going to come up, okay? So if you want to do this one with me, I'm going to demonstrate on the line that I already did. I came down from his cheek, curved a line out for his leg, and then gave him his little feetsies and came back up. Now, I didn't cross this middle line, so I'm going to start. I'm going to put a little dot right there. I'm going to try and imitate the same thing on the other side. Now, it might not be exact, but that's okay because nobody's perfect. I'm going to curve out like this. I'm going to give him his little foot on this side. And I'm going to come up and stop, just like that. So now I have 1 foot, 1 foot, and they match, kind of, from side to side. Now, before I get any further, I want to make sure that I get his tie in there. So I'm going to come down and make a point right here to the center line. So do you guys see that? So this is the center line right here. And I just made a point. And I'm going to come all the way up to his chin. And I'm going to make the collar come out just like that. Okay? And we're going to paint in the dots. So don't draw those in. You don't need to draw the dots in. Okay, so we have his front legs now. Now we have to do his back legs. And remember, whatever is on one side, you're going to have on the other side. So we're going to do one side first and then the next side, okay? So just like when we were drawing our dogs on Monday, we're going to have a little hill. And then we're going to draw his foot coming out, just like that. Okay? So if you want to draw this with me, I'm going to trace over my original line. There's a little hill. And then his foot. Okay? And then back on this side, there's a little hill. And then his foot. Just like that. Now, you might be saying, where's his tail? I think that Tiffany's tail is probably behind her. I'm imagining that it would be waving. So maybe that's where it is. And you can make a little line right here for her bottom. Okay, now we are totally ready to paint. The one line I'm going to make now is I'm going to strengthen this line, separating the page in half, because this is my wall and this is my floor. And we're going to be painting this one color, and then this color's complementary color. So I'm just going to give you the plan. This is going to be red. And as you guys remember, red's complementary color is the one right across from it in the color wheel, and that's green. So this is red, green. We're going to paint the dog blue because that's the whole point. The dog is blue. Blue. The complementary color, which is going to go into his eyes, is orange. Then we're going to paint the tie, the last complementary color set, which is, I didn't do that with this one, so ignore that part. But the tie is going to be purple, and the dots are going to be yellow. And then yellow is the complementary color to purple. So we're going to get ready to paint. So set up your art station however you want. Make sure you have your brushes and your water and all of your colors ready to go. We are going to be switching colors. So I need a napkin. So I have a napkin up here that I'm going to dry my brush on, because to change colors, we need to swish it in the bowl. So swish, swish, swish. We need to wipe it on the side of the cup carefully so that we don't spill our water. So swish, wipe. And the third step is we need to blot it on our paper towel. So swish, wipe, and blot. So we're going to start with the dog. Now, to do our dog, we want to have blue. But there are sections that are going to be darker blue. So sections need to be lighter blue. To get that light blue color, we're going to mix blue with a little bit of white. And when you mix white with a color to make it lighter, that is called a tint. So I'm going to demonstrate that by first painting my dog blue. And make sure you use a brush that is the appropriate size so that you can stay within the lines. I feel like my brush is actually just a tad too big, but I am trying to do this a little bit fast so you guys can watch. Okay, so I'm going to keep painting it with blue. Paint around the tie because the tie is going to be purple. And don't paint his nose because his nose is white. Oh my goodness, I almost painted the tie. Okay, and you got to paint his head. So carefully paint around the areas that are going to be white. And obviously don't paint on his eyes because those are going to be orange, because orange is the complementary color. And I want to make sure that I get his little fuzzies. I'm going to paint around his eyebrows just for now, but we're going to come in with blue plus a little bit of black to make them dark blue. And when you add black to a color, it obviously makes it darker. And that is also called a shade. So when you add black to a color to make it darker, you are making a shade of that color. When you add white to make it lighter, you are making a tint. Okay, I'm going to rinse out my brush. So swish, wipe on the side, and blot my 3 steps. I'm going to get a little bit of white. Now I had to swish, wipe, and blot because I did not want my white to get dirty. And then I'm going to add, I have to actually get more. So I have to swish, wipe, and blot again. Get more white on my brush. And I'm going to show you, when you add the white, it makes your blue lighter and you are creating a tint. So to make a color lighter, you add white. Or another way you can make it lighter is if you're using a watercolor, you can just add more water. And of course, depending on what kind of paint you're using and what kind of intensity the color is, you might have to add a little bit more white to make it lighter. And that really just depends on the kind of paint you're using. So I know I've talked about the liquid watercolor before, and I say how the color is really intense. That is what I mean. There's a lot of pigmentation in that color. So if I were to try and make it light, I would have to add lots of white or add lots of water. So I'm going to swish, wipe, and blot. So I've made my dog a little bit lighter by adding the white. And now I'm going to show you guys how to make your shade for his eyebrows. Okay, so I'm going to add blue, which was the color of the dog before. And then I got to do his ears too. So all the parts where it's a little bit darker blue. So that would be his ears, his eyebrows, and his cheeks. And I'm just going to add a little bit of shading onto the edges of his face as well. And also to the edges of his body right here. Okay. So when I add the black to it, you'll see. And I'm going to rinse. So swish, wipe, and blot. So 3 steps. And I'm going to get a little bit of black because black is obviously a very strong color. And we want to make sure we're creating a shade and not just painting it black. Okay, so I'm going to mix it, the black on top, and you'll see it is turning into a darker blue. So it's a shade of blue and basically turns it into, I guess what you would say is a navy color. So do some black on the sides. And just give them a little bit of shading. Now that's why they call it shading too, because it's just making it darker. And I think that looks good. I'm going to swish, wipe, and blot one last time. And I'm going to actually get a smaller brush because I'm just going to get some black and I'm going to color in his nose with the black. If you want, you can put the little white dots at the end on top. Okay, so now we have our blue dog. We've got some shading going on with the black mixed with the blue to create the shade. We've got some tints in the center to make the lighter blue. So that's white mixed with blue. And now we are going to move on to our complementary colors that we have in the wallpaper, which is red. So I'm just going to paint it red. And try to be careful with painting around the edges. So take your time painting on those edges. Then you can use broader strokes as you get away from the dog to fill in that space. And just like I was talking in the styles of painting, you'll see my brush strokes in this painting, and that's okay. So this is more a painterly, expressionistic painting. Okay, so I'm painting it with red. Now, we are going to do the complementary color on the bottom for the floor. And I'm not going to pull out my color wheel. I'm going to see if you guys remember what the complementary color for red is. And I want you guys to think of a holiday that uses that combination. So if you remember, the complementary color for red is green. And that would be Christmas that uses that red and green combination. Now, A lot of things use complementary colorways because of the contrast it creates, and it is a very pleasing color combination. Now, we don't have green. We have to mix it. How do we mix green? We use yellow and another primary color, which is blue. Oh, so you just see it. You can see it because I just touched it to my blue dog and I got a little green made. So paint with the yellow around your blue dog. Try to be careful not to hit the blue. If you want, you can use a smaller brush. My brush is kind of big. Ooh, see? There's some green mixing in there. I'm going to swish and I'm going to get a smaller brush because I should not be using such a big brush so that I also can paint carefully around my dog. So I'm trying to use supplies and paints that you might have at home for these lessons. So you may not have every single color in the rainbow. Maybe you only have the primary colors. And this is a lesson on how to mix them all together. I'm swishing, wiping, and blotting because now I have to get the blue and just a little bit of blue to make our green. So color mixing is a very important part of theory, color theory, as is complementary colors as well. So I got my blue going in there, getting a little bit of water. And now we know that blue and yellow make green. So some of you kiddos painting out there, you might already know that. So awesome. Get a little bit more blue. So the small brush is really great to get into those little areas around the dog, but it does take a little bit more time. But that's okay. Take your time. Remember, if you need to catch up, need to pause the video if you're not watching it live, that's totally fine. Let's see if there are any comments. How are you guys doing? Okay, so I got red, I got green, I got my blue dog with the tint, I got my blue dog with the shades over here. Now, all I have to do is paint his tie. Now, his tie is going to be the last colorway for complementary colors, and that is purple and yellow. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I took this brush and I just wet it. Sometimes when you're blending colors and you're painting on the page instead of mixing a whole palette of mixed colors, it doesn't blend as well as you want it to. And while it's okay to see the brush strokes, your colors might need a little bit of help to blend. And you can take a brush that's wider, flatter, and soft, and just wet it and give that blending a little bit of help. So now my blue and my yellow are fully mixed into a green color. And there you go. Okay, so next thing that we're going to do is we are going to do his tie. And I'm going to do purple, but I don't have purple paint. So what am I going to do? I am going to swish, wipe and blot, make sure my brush is completely clean. Take my new color, which is going to be red. And see if you guys remember, how do you get purple? You mix red and blue. So swish, wipe, and blot. So now I have blue on my brush, and I'm just going to mix it right onto that red. So if you like painting this blue dog, and you could be just like George Rodrigue, you can paint a whole bunch of them. So as you can see, this dog kind of looks a little different from this dog. So maybe the next dog I make will look even different. I kind of like these little fuzzies that come off of his face. So I'm going to add more. And kind of I'm painting this guy upside down. So sometimes when you paint it upside down, it ends up looking different. There we go. Now he's looking a little bit more blue doggy. Awesome. Oh my goodness, we forgot his eyes. So what we're going to do next is we are going to do his eyes, but I want you guys to blow on your tie. I'm just blending it a little bit. Blow on your tie because we want it to be fully dry before we add the spots to it. Now the spots are going to be yellow. So take this time just to blow on your tie. And while it's drying, we're going to swish, wipe, and blot. We're going to get a little yellow. We're going to paint some yellow into his eye. And we have to make orange. So how do we make orange? We mix yellow and red. Now red is a very strong color, so we just want a little teeny weeny bit of red. I already swish, wiped, and blotted so that my red stays nice and clean. But red is a really strong color, so you don't want to overpower the yellow. If it ends up being too red, you can always go back over it with some yellow. And there are his orange eyes. I'm going to paint a little bit of dark blue around his eyes. So, oh, I just got some paint on my wall. So, how do we get a dark blue? We make a shade. Okay, so I'm painting around his eyes like this, just for extra contrast. I'm going to swish, wipe, and blot. And grab a little black. And give it a little bit of dark outline around his eye. So hopefully by now your tie is dry. If it is not dry, you may have to come back later and add your yellow dots. Mine is still wet. So I'm going to demonstrate what happens when you don't wait. And show you maybe why you should wait. So tempera paint is not the thickest paint, so you might be able to see stuff through it. So I'm going to do my yellow dots. And as you can see, it's not really showing up that much. It's kind of just sitting at the top. And they're not very clean. So if you have time to wait, I recommend it. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do these yellow dots over later, but I'm going to bring my paper up closer so you guys can see. So you can kind of see them on there, but my recommendation is if you have time, Wait for your purple tie to dry, and you can add your yellow dots at that time. So this is our blue dog. We have many parts of the lesson. So we have tints, we have shades. So tints, you add white. Shades, you add black to make it darker. There's also a tone, and tone is adding gray to a color. We have complementary colorways. We have the red and the green. We have the blue and the orange eyes. And then we have the purple tie. And once we have those yellow dots, it'll be purple and yellow. We learned a little bit about a style of painting, Expressionism, where we take something that could be based in reality. So just like George Rodrigue's dog, Tiffany, we took a dog that was real and gave it more expressive color and more feeling. And we added a tie on it. So we took it from his inspiration and did our own kind of blue dog styling. So I'm going to turn this up and say goodbye for today. So our next class is going to be multimedia. We're going to be doing sculpture, and it's going to be a salt dough sculpture of animal faces, and it'll be our last class for Animal Week. Our mixture is going to be salt. So it's 1 cup of salt to 1 cup of warm water and 2 cups of flour, I believe. But I will post the recipe before the class starts. And what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be doing flat sculptures of their faces. We're going to add mouths, nose, eyes. If you have buttons that you want to add as eyes, that could be cool too. But that will be our last class for Animal Week. It's multimedia sculpture. So thank you for coming to class today. So just to recap, we did drawing on Monday. We did painting today. And we're going to do sculpture on Friday. Once again, my name is Miss Elaine. I'm from the Firehouse Art Center. We are in downtown Longmont, 4th and Kaufman. We miss seeing our community in person, but we are hoping to continue these virtual classes while the gallery is closed. If you have done the project with me, or if you're doing it later and watching this later at your own convenience, definitely share the picture of your artwork. It's not letting people share on this post. I'm going to try and see if I can change that. Or you can just send it as a message to me on Facebook and I will post it. We love seeing the artwork that you guys create at home. And we definitely want to share it with the community. Also, check on the Firehouse Facebook page. I've shared a bingo sheet of all these creative things that you can do in the Longmont community, whether it's listening to a story time from the Longmont Public Library or Gray Haven's Philosophy actually has a story time as well. So those are 2 things that you can do on the bingo sheet. You can take a class here with me for the Firehouse, or you can take a class with Miss Lee at Discovery Days for the museum. There's all sorts of different fun things you could do. You could do chalk drawings. You could paint a rock, leave it for someone else to find. There's reading, of course. There's writing, all sorts of different kinds of poetry. But yeah, check it out. If you fill in a straight across or a diagonal or straight down, you get a sticker, and it's one of the big stickers, not like the teeny tiny stickers. Or if you get a full blackout, you get an art kit put together by me. So fill it out, send it in to me. My name is Miss Elaine. My email is elaine@firehouseart.org. I'd love to see any of your artwork. I'd love to see those bingo sheets, and I'm looking forward to when I can see you guys in person. Until then, I'm going to sign off, and I will hopefully see you on Friday. Bye, guys. Thank you.